Okay, Many Square Project Part 3, Project Development Process, number 12. Step number 12. Add code to checkerboard to allow it to accept N, K, and Q as arguments at runtime and pass these arguments to CV checkerboard. Alright, so let's see how we can do that. Actually, we're going to need to be able to pass those arguments here, aren't we? So let's do this. Let's see. I think for now, okay, so if you saw the video on arguments here, that took you through a little bit of how in the project preparation bit, that took you through a little bit about how you set up arguments in your main method. So I'm going to just kind of run through that quick over here. So we're going to be pulling our arguments off of this args index, or I'm sorry, args array. And the way that we'll do that, I think what we want to do is we want to have defaults just in case the user doesn't provide the values we need. So I'm going to say int n equals 8, right? That's our default for n. We're going to have an 8x8 board. Just say comma here because k is also an int. K equals 10, so that means 10 squares per spiral of squares. And then q, we'll give that a default value of 0.2. And then what I'd like to do is pass these values down to checkerboard. So I want to be able to say N, K, and Q here. So what I need to do, this is telling me right here, that I need a constructor that takes 2 ints and a float. So let's make that happen. So I'm going to say int n, int k, float q. Oops, float q. There. So now this guy's happy because I'm passing nkq and I'm getting nkq. And I want to ultimately pass these values to the canvas. So I'm going to have my nkq. Let me just copy that and paste those values in here. Edit, paste. Okay. Now I'm going to put in some extra code in here. What we want is we want to allow for the user giving us these arguments. Oh, let me just run what I got so far and see if make sure I didn't break anything yet. Okay, so that's all good. Okay, but I want to be able to add arguments in here and collect arguments and use them. So let's check. The way one thing you can do is you can see how many items are in this list of arguments with a modifier or an attribute called length here. So if length is bigger than 0, that means we got at least one argument. So we're going to assume the arguments come in the order NKQ, okay, because we have to assume something with that. So I'm going to say, I'm going to assume that if we have at least one argument, then the first argument is what I want for n. So n equals, and it turns out, so we know that this argument, if we just said n equals args0, we have a problem because where args0 is a string. So we need to convert that string into an int. And the way that we do that is with, let's see, Java API integer. So you can always Google this stuff. And here it is, integer Java. So API is just application programming interface. I usually end up getting the Java 7 version, but if you want the 8, you can usually just replace the 7 with an 8. And now we have class integer, and there's something called, let's see, I think it's, yeah, value of. So there's this static method called value of, where you can, and I'm not going to use this one, actually, I'm going to use this one. You can just pass it the string, and it'll return the integer. So it returns an integer object holding the value of the specified string. And even though this is integer capital I, you can assign it to a primitive integer. So we can just say integer dot value of, let's do that, equals integer dot value of, see that right there, value of, and this is going to be our string, arg0 is going to be our string. So this bracket, this 0 in the brackets just is saying, give me the 0th. The way these are numbered, these arrays are starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So it's saying, basically give me the string that is being held in args0, in the 0th place in args, basically, at the starting place of args. So there we have n. Then we can also, if we have more arguments, if args is of length greater than 1, then we could go ahead and assume the next one is k. Assume that the next argument being entered is k. So k equals integer value of, and our string here is going to be args1, okay, because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3 like that, okay. And then you probably guess what I'm going to do next. If args length is greater than 2, I'm going to assign q. And now q is a float. It's not an integer, but as you can imagine, there's something very similar that we can do with floats. And there is actually a float class, and you can say value of args2. Okay? So the reason for this testing, all these ifs, is you don't want to try to pull out something at the index 2 if there's nothing there. Otherwise, it'll you're going to throw errors. Okay, but this way, now if the user supplies any values, we can put those in. And one way, I think you might have seen this already, but one way that you can supply values, let's see, we're on checker demo, right? So checker demo. So we want checker demo to be the main project that we're working on, and we're going to customize our configuration to say, let's say we want 4 4x4 grid, and we want 20, a spiral of 20 squares, and we want to be, let's say, 0.1f. Oops, not O, 0, 0.1f for our third argument. Okay, so I'll put that in and run main project, and yoink, what do you know? So our array should be noticeably narrower. Let's just try, let's just try for a goof. Let's try an even more obvious change here. Let's just have 3 squares each, and we'll make it like 0.5 or something. Let's see what that looks like. Run main project. Yoink. Okay, sweet. So that's obviously working, right? We have 3 squares at a time, and we're rotating, 50% each time. That's cool. All right. So that works. Was that everything? So add code to allow to accept Okay. There's one other way to compile and let the user add arguments, and I'm going to show that in a next video. So I'm going to make a video 12b just to show that, so you guys know how it works.